Nervousness is probably out of the question so far for both of these teams for sure. It looks like utter dominance for Envy in the first place on that first half, and you were mentioning that aggression was very good for Envy coming into those retake plays, those anchored plays. But you definitely saw that when the sides swapped, TSM started to look like the TSM that we know that could be the dark horse of this tournament here, coming in as #1 seed for Ascension, although despite all that. So I think now it comes down to that confidence will continue to exude for both of these teams, and we'll continue to see and try to run through the chaos. So good luck, Tenric, when it's going to have to come down to the play-by-play in these moments, because these teams are finally looking warmed up for the sunset.
Thanks, bud. Yeah, this will be a playground for sure. Well, TSM is starting out on the attack side, as handed to them by Envy, who, as per their previous map, want to continue to just overblow in the finality of each round. Very quiet start from both ends, as TSM will just dry walk up the elbow, and there's no jump peek just yet by Kane. He's going to meet this first corner, though, and looks like we're going to be slow walking up to it. No, perfectly swung. And TSM has that first meet. Now it's the blowout from elbow, and Timatino is up and kicking. Exter able to get there early, and he's the only one available after Timatino continues to just blister through. But that Sage now coming into play. 7 able to placate with that slow orb single-handedly and get the spike down for free.
That's the bread and butter, sorry, of TSM on these XX. Having Timatino as the tip of the spear, and when you get into the sites, all that counter utility from the Sage, just not allowing you to flood back into the site. So TSM's in a great position in this post plant.
GMD just barely missed out on. Extra still escapes with his third after finding 7, and now GMD doing his dance against 2. Inspire! Burning that down 2, and Envy tank up and carry out a massive retake to win one of the few pistols they have against TSM.
And a slight mistake coming out from GMD. He was trying to go for a drop smoke to maybe spot feet as soon as the smoke comes through towards that A choke. The thing is right now is you already started walking in for Envy, so he misses that timing. It kind of keeps 7 out on an island, having to face off against 1. He already gets picked off, and then you miss the timing to be able to trade out. You get the information on 2, but then everybody's just isolated on individual 1 versus 2 right there on the side of TSM. A small little blunder that might render costly for the side of TSM, but they did have a plant. They did have Timatino with 3 kills, and Timatino is going to invest into a Spectre with no armor to try to open up here on this B site to allow for them, or hopefully allow for them to get a second plat in this round.
How good of a chance does that snowball have of rolling in the heated up sunset? Extra with the first catch on the Outlaw. Rest of Envy tries to crunch on top of the smokes. Inspire actually giving himself away. Low key, 7 just gonna use that as an excuse to run it down. And congratulations, TSM, you've won some free guns. Envy now on the re-entry through the market. It's loud, but it's proud. And with GMD on a slightly lower health pool, Envy can still boast a little bit hardier. Drone in to guarantee no one's close on top of this smoke that GMD has set up for himself. Instead, they're just going to try and pincer as the site fades away. Do they know they're this close? Yeah, this is so smart from 7. Oh, and then GMD kind of ballroom dances around to meet him. Look how they're manipulating this crossfire as Envy rotate to it, but Ion has still found the backstab onto 7. GMD into 1v2, but he's found the paranoia outskirts, and he deals with Poppin as well. An anti-eco stolen away by TSM, and that is practically copyrighted by Envy at this point.
And what a clutch coming in by GMD as well. And you could see the chess match between these two teams that are 2 versus 2. The drone never saw 7, and 7 just repositioned himself into the default spot of that B site. But then it becomes a game of timing. They're able to spot their opponent. They take down 7. Paranoia from GMD lands onto 1. The second one misses, and GMD finding like these little gaps. He always dances around like those big paranoia flashes. The Nightfalls, I remember vividly on this map of Sunset as well, to pick up multi-kills on this map. He's so good. And you mentioned that this map is a playground for both of these teams, and I'd like to say probably even more for GMD. He looks so comfortable being able to move around this map. And I love how they're able to cycle between that single Spectre to get, or should I say the Stinger, sorry, to get maximum value out of it. That's 2 entries that Sem was able to pick up after Timatino, and allows TSM to break the econ of Envy, who are now stacking towards this A site. And the read is good, Tenric, because the camera was already aggressive towards B main, and it saw no pressure. So the big gap is middle if it's going to be the pathing for TSM, but this is going to be a late round pivot towards the A site. They are walking into that trap.
And we have read this very well. And Inspire has not had to deal with any threat. First double smoke setup. Just to prevent full-blown swing. Ion's going to be goaded out with the paint shell. Now a slow orb to try and fully trap him on his explosion. Instead, it's Kane Zera that takes the brunt. But now you can trap yourself with the help of this paranoia. And Inspire is going to fire into the fray. 4-7 to use that res. The rest of this blow-through, though, is not kept back at all. And TSM will eventually sequence their way onto the site. Despite that, though, Poppin has not been dealt with yet, and he'll at least grab a freebie. Nice dinks before he falls.
And somehow, despite that dink, there's still so much HP left there for a 7 in the end. But it looked pretty good on how TSM reacted into that stack. The smoke was there and it was perfect. The slow orb, it looked like it was a little bit faulty for the side of TSM at first, but you didn't want to let any players flood through from the elbow side as you're trying to clear towards that right cubby. So a nice little read at the very beginning for TSM. And when you've already used your biggest flash to try to take control of the site, they use it for elbow instead, then you now have to use your bodies. So they jumped through, they made sure that they baited the res, that they could also cycle the ults, because after that res, Timotino has his showstopper now. So they go for this mid control, potentially try to break this door and try to finish forward that type of mid control with the showstopper here. Oh, what a spam through the smoke.
That's such a great fish, Kane Zera, with the perfect punish on a Timo, who they know is antsy to let that showstopper fly. Yeah, why punish the pocket when you can just rip it away? So now Eggster, the only ultimate on the table this round. And it seems like TSM is going to negate the use for it by just walking up these steps. Perfect crunch that Ion gets all of the connection on. And now you have 2 ults on the table if you're Envy.
Just missing that full wide swing too, so it became an easy lineup for Ion, sorry, to pick up. So unfortunate. I think again the game plan is trying to go for that mid control to see what would the reaction be for Envy after you break that door. But just very clean shots coming through here from Kane at the top. Gets one through the smoke. Shindy has no choice now but to go for a 1 versus X on a team deathmatch when the spike is down all the way on top of middle, and that's a nice little answer back here for the side of Envy. Starting off with not necessarily a lucky kill. You're just trying to hear where the shots are coming from, and there's that kill that you're able to pick up.
No, that's sense that Kane has displayed time and again. All he needs is to see or hear 1 bullet, and he's got such a decent idea of where your hitbox is going to be. Great manipulation. And I have no doubt that the new spray he's going to get is going to play into that, for sure. But in the meantime, TSM again knocking on the door of A main. Envy can be a lot more ballsy this time with the better guns. In fact, they'll set up a 1-way just to escort this double duelist up a little closer to get that orb presence and force TSM to play a little more static.
And even from Timotino's position here, he's trying to watch for a walk down on that A main when the smoke dissipates. But once it goes into that mid round, it's a simple drone. He's got verticality for more spacing on the satchels with the showstopper, potentially to try to get early control on one of these close extremities of that A site and scale up right after. He sees nothing. It allows TSM to scale up and to go for this fight.
Yep, there's the first kill. No immediate pressure applied, but the smoke gets tossed onto Link. Maybe trying to see if Kane decides to dive into it now that he's been ISO'd. But he'll just hang out on the box.
It's a good spot here to take for Ion. He's on the top of the boxes, could play these 1-ways. Now he could spot feet while Kane Zera will allow himself to get a little bit more reactive as soon as they try to come through. He still has the relay bolt to stun when they're going for the exec.
30 seconds left.
Right on top of the bolt and the showstopper, this time uninterrupted by Timotino. Does it get punished? Kane Zera. Oh, the foot's not spotted! The foot's not spotted, Timo! Kane Zera takes care of Bora, though, and it's Timo that dry fires the ultimate, but still finds the duelist for duelist ditto. Ultimately, Timotino does come out of the round with 2 kills and presence for TSM, so you can't complain too heavily, but Hoffman still with this ultimate, Inspire and Orb away from 1, and V can get a reset. They have plenty of time to do so.
With the slow orbs too is going to slow things down even more. Now you're forcing to make some noise. That's all going to be heard by TSM here.
Yeah, they'll be keen to both of these presences, and Inspire burning away that wall is instantly punished. Timo pops out to get the first angle. Poppin', though, only good for 1. and TSM can take back that lead. That was definitely a chaotic round. I am amazed that Timo did not spot Kane, and then I am subsequently amazed that Kane did not kill Timotino. Very strange interaction.
And that's the thing. As the showstopper is moving through and it doesn't spot anybody yet, you see how Vora's scaling behind it. So they're trying to get the extra space off the showstopper into the shop. So he's trying to play patient. He's hoping to pick up 3 kills through that and somehow misses the timing when Timotino makes his way inside the smoke before he spots Vora. So he has to go for a shot this time around, and then he gets punished off that. And just that alone allows Timotino to solo control shops. And you know, when it comes down to these hero plays, that Timotino could definitely step up to the plate and score these home runs. So very nice little entries, pathing, even getting a third on low HP when they're trying to scale back into the site. And that forces already an early timeout out from Stunner, because it just seems like maybe that type of solo play or the patience play from Kane Zera is a little bit too much to ask for him with the way that TSM's been scaling elbow very, very well on these XX.
Yeah, if the dust settles after all that frenetic activity that both of these teams go through, and TSM is the one left standing, then TSM or then Envy, they have to kind of toss the playbook a little bit, because so much of their playstyle continues to thrive on the chaos that they can set the stage for. So if TSM are the ones that are able to kind of force those solo fights and be the ones that are daring Envy to walk into the things that they would normally love to, that's the exact kind of attitude they want to have walking into the remainder of this series.
An interesting responsibility given to Ion here, going for a buy with the Vandal and small shields, and potentially won't have too much to buy into the next round. So they're trying to have him stall with the paranoia, try to get a 1 and 2 so that Extra could help out, pick up a rifle right after going into the dimensional drift and surprise some opponents. A nice little play drafted that, again, is just allowing Envy to get a lot of value off the chaos potentially that they can get on the A site. But TSM, you read otherwise. They hurt the flash, they're falling away from that, and they're splitting into the B site. So far, so good on a rotate.
And they've set up a couple clears to make mid a little spooky, so Kane has to take his sweet time and trying to go for that backstab. He's still gonna outrun them because he's on Neon. On that Bucky, though, he doesn't get a clean first shot. Bora has to take 2 to go down, but Kane is still unloaded and unfettered. TSM have no proper response to this Neon as he blisters his way onto the site, and he might just be all Envy has and needs this round. GMD stands alone in the 1v2, 1v1, Kane saves it! The Bucky bookends the round for the star of Envy. A 4K for the Neon and a recovery round for Envy.
What a recovery round going into that. Again, the timeout that was being drafted up was not a round going into the next round. There was something being drafted up for them to try to get so much value around this Vandal and the ultimate of Kane Zera right over here. You funnel everybody back towards that A side as you made a lot of noise. And you see how TSM are pathing around these sites. They're leveraging a lot of these walls to section out an area. So you're basically also funneling yourself into one single entry. So when you're able to get a backstab like that from Kane Zera, you open things up that way. You're starting to create that chaos. And then Poppin throws the recon dart for a hit for Kane to get free kills off the overdrive. And to break that momentum that was starting to get built up here by TSM at the very beginning.
Continue snuffing out these flames that both teams are trying to get active here in map number 2. Everybody trying to find that moment where they can hit that second wind, get that fast break, and nail down a site proper, make it consistent, make the fights continuously intimidating for one particular side. But that individuality still ever pervasive in rounds like this, where teams just can't help themselves but let people take on responsibilities. The confidence that these players have not only in themselves but each other is what motivates a lot of the scrapping out that you end up seeing happening on sites. And of course, so far, I think Poppin's reads have been magnificent as well to just meet the threats head on for TSM, to turn this into the TDM adjacent fights that we see here. Flash into Kane's slide. That's such a good sequence.
Making sure you're training with your teammates. That's a great little start for TSM.
Envy try to re-up again on top of a paranoia thrown by Ion, but they just dip into the kitty harder. Timotino comes up with 2 now, and the sequencing has to remain as the health pool starts to wane for TSM on their entryways. Poppin doing a decent amount of spraying, now with the Hunter's Fury available on top of the Spike Plant, and the Neural Theft 2, TSM might be met early on, but Vora takes care of Poppin as he tries to circumvent. Inspire not letting that ult fly for himself in the 1v4. He knows his goose is cooked, and TSM will take back the lead, no doubt.
You already know when he threw the hat for the Neural Theft, where Inspire is going to be rotating from, just looking for exits. There's already a high, mid, low looking down that ramp to cover Inspire. There is no way he's going to be able to line all these guys up. But you can definitely see, you were just mentioning how the calls have been good for Poppin so far. I'd like to say very similarly to Vora, although you get into like these small timings that individually inside the server is being found by, you know, individual decisions taken by the players. So you're calling out these timeouts. Both even coaches had to call out early timeouts for both Stunner and NBS, for Envy and TSM, to try to draft out these rounds. And so far, 100% conversion rate on these timeouts for both of these coaches. Look at how we stayed as a group around that, going to fight toe-to-toe, leveraging the Hunter's Fury around it as well. The wall bang from Vora, half the body of Poppin showing up. And it allows TSM to still have a pretty strong control of this game so far. The economy, once again, is still not the best for the side of Envy, but it's Exer with a Bucky that could make things very dangerous. Very similarly to what happened on that previous round, you have Ion moving forward here with Exer working in hand in hand, so that he could control the A side at first. The rotate is the same now as well for Kane Zero, so they could try to go for the mid control and the backstab right after. TSM has to be ready for that once they're going to try to go into the mid-round control of middle.
Yeah, they could drive the needle at any moment despite the gun disadvantage. And you know Eggster is looking for a time to be able to get that free Bucky kill with the drift to just let Envy get into a space for free. Endless win cons plaguing this second bit of regulation. TSM, I do declare this is one of the farthest forays into B-site we've seen TSM thus far.
They've been very slow. You see how the execution comes in. They were just waiting off the timer of the TP to diminish here on the side of the Yoru of Exter so that he could go for the pop. But instead now they force out the Hunter's Fury. They're going to backstab for a second time into the A site, right where that Bucky is in the elbow. They are pinging for that to say, let's be careful for that because we've lost that position in the beginning. So it'll be a mid to B split to finish off for TSM.
And so it's Poppin that's going to try and eat instead. Just eats a showstopper, not to the face, maybe to the feet. No, the Parry Orb trying to let him a free channel, and it will get him there eventually. So it's Kane Zera that's got to act on the site. Slow Orb is going to hold him back, but a quick...
Spike planted.
What?
Oh, no.
Oh, Timo. No way. How long does he... Come on now.
No.
No! Vora is on the other side of it! No matter how that went, it would have been silly. But a shame that Kane isn't able to come up with anything out of that. It's got to be Ion and Eggster who circle the boat. The market presence has already been figured out. So is that backstab from the Boba. Vora has already been crunched. And this setup has to remain liable. So they'll end up wrapping that up. That could have been something beautiful, though, Vance.
Dude, again, you have to respect the trigger discipline of Kane Zero. That's the second time that he does that. He's expecting somebody to move up with Timotino because there's no way you're playing one deep angle by yourself until you set up a crossfire setup for the flood retake, prevent the flood retake of happening from your opponents. So he's like, okay, nobody's moving up towards the ramp, so there's got to be a time I could find in the front of the site. I'll get a second free kill onto Timotino right after, but he doesn't clear his left side, and Vora gets a free backstab in the end. That's just unfortunate. You're trying to make that play, but another Sheriff will.
Extras rings true.
You will not kill my
Envy could be very motivated to set up the trap. A lot of sprays to hold down the res, but Poppin will get his own Sheriff Dink to turn this right back to a 4v4. Kane does not have the Bucky. He does have the Sheriff, and he finds two! He finds the collapse! Onto the approach! Ion, the distraction dance is not enough to keep them from refragging onto Kane, but it's a 2v2 regardless. Now that Bucky goaded out by Alvin, do you dare approach this, or do you dare go into another place where you lack the intel? Still a minute to go. No doubt TSM turns tail here, but Inspire's already on the run back.
I thought they were just going to wait very patiently for TSM because now you're giving up a lot of weapons that you could cover already That's going to be salvaged by Ion. Inspire. I mean, we've seen already the share shots that were thrown by Exter and Poppin. Inspire could do the very same as he's walking down and he has the timing.
One more Sheriff to ring true.
Oof.
Not this time. A crucial miss that lets TSM have another big chance at redeeming themselves this round.
Cage triggered.
And in fact, they'll play to the time. Alvin Boy can set up shop to a degree. Has one more cage to just play with the clock.
Trying to break the camera and they didn't.
Yeah, manual clearing necessary here. Yeah, effortless first kill. And Ion, tough reposition just to get rid of the dart, and he's still been sprayed down to 8 HP. Very well handled by TSM. As, yeah, I mean, they're going for the same plan at that point, man.
Yeah, very nice round salvage in the end by TSM because those shots started to look very dangerous. On that side, it was another one of those moments where you're leveraging the res of the Sage trying to bait out some more shots. It did bait out some players. They swung out. Look at these collat. I mean, how does he get two there?
Unreal.
Just bad
Unreal.
spacing on TSM's side, but thankfully, you still have Alvin Boy and GMD overlooking with the util available from both the smoke and the camera. They got 100% value on that 2 versus 2. And allows TSM to continue the lead here in this series. Omen ult available for GMD. Doesn't really look like they want to position themselves to play anything aggressive yet and to put him inside that spawn or insert him inside that spawn.
Pretty similar posts to start this round as the past 4 or 5. Envy seem kind of comfortable in how they can manipulate the rotations to intercept. Hey, you already see Kane and Poppin switching up their lean a tad bit.
But technically, they're not really moving too much because you've already tapped orb and pull out the drone at the same time within a span of 5 seconds. So it's not really some sort of a hit. It's TSM just trying to find information first.
My cage triggered.
Nothing met yet. Now it'll be the dump onto Inspire. Front line is good. Alvin Boy gets the lurk on mid top. Poppin still stuck in this corner. He's dealt with eventually. And same with Inspire, who pulled himself up as long as he could, but still not able to come up with anything, unfortunately. Retake on the drop smoke. Yeah, GMD just waiting to see if anybody pokes out a foot mistakenly here. Just begging for these little crucial mistakes. Keeping things surgical for TSM. Exter triple flashing in on top of his decoy. What a guessing game you have to play, and it gets Exter twice over in. But you still got so many players to burn through, and so TSM get another on the board.
So to utilize the ult to also look towards the back of that B site, GMD gets a big trade right after his teammate moved in to gain that space in the beginning. But those slow orbs continue to be very tough to deal with for the players rotating back inside that site. Look at Poppin. He's isolated pretty much at that point right after. He had to win that fight to give a chance here for Envy to come back. But I was going to mention that the patience coming out here from TSM, despite them getting map control in the first place or site control, they're not really going for the plant yet because Mark, it was still being smoked up. They don't know what the wall really broke, so they tried to make sure that it was still up and that somebody could cover 7 as he's going for a plant. So despite the chaos that Envy brings into the series and the chaos that they brought in the first map that was so good for their defensive run on Abyss, TSM are not really letting themselves getting flustered on the capabilities that Envy brings to the table here in this matchup. So 7-3 scoreline and potentially just a walk contact into this B site.
I'm caged. They found my wire.
Inspire stands alone this time. TSM quite fearless. Ion 10 spot almost cracks Timo. But now TSM will resequence. Timo will unload the util bank just to get the rest of TSM a little farther forward on the steps. And again, we don't commit to the play because Extra's on the other side with his dimensional drift. You have too much presence that you're worried about in the meantime. Losing that presence now as Vora sticks the plant. Now the boy prepare for Extra's exit from the ultimate. TSM comes up full on this kill feed.
And you can see how good they look and how experienced they are to play against this Extra Yoru dimensional drift now. And Alvin Boy even separating the space and opened up the gap. Understanding that you're coming out of the ult, you're still far away from me, and I could just win that fight against you right after while still getting support for an instant trade right after. So very nicely done on that control. And on the execution where it almost seems on this B site that they are on the side of Envy giving a lot of space for TSM to take in the first place. So TSM understands they don't have to really try to use too much utility to find the information on that B site to really move forward. And when it comes to plow towards that A site, you can't really play the retake because TSM's been really good with the Sage Wall and the Slow Orbs to prevent Envy from getting the best of their flood retakes on that B site.
Yeah, so true. That passive slowdown forces Envy to make even more of a committed one-and-done decision. They're not able to kind of poke and prod with the solos that they've been able to get away with as often. It's pretty crucial.
Exactly
Kane's era comes up basically completely empty. I mean, not a shot landed onto Alvin Boy that time around. That is a really tough break. But again, Envy just amp up the gas. And with a Paranoia sent in to show for extra down to the tiles, he will come away with 7 before getting out scot-free. But of course he doesn't actually get out. He's not sticking that TP. He's sticking around and comes up with 3 total. Now it's Inspire's turn to play close, and TSM is surely prepped. No! Envy meet the threat head on, head first, head early, and it's 4-8 on the half.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. Exer doesn't care that he has a TP available. He's already gained all that spot. The ult getting a lot of information for the team to just allow for Exer to be propped up, prepped up with the angle, and to be able to get these beautiful kills. Same thing happens on the insert front Inspire. Finally, Envy turns up at the right time, and they're able to salvage the last round. But before we head on to the second half, let's head over to the stage where we have Milo with some fans.
Eu não te ouvi, mas eu acho que é comigo, né? Porque tá um barulhaço aqui no meio da torcida. Olha aqui nossa Paper Rex. Olha a nossa Paper Rex. E quem disse que não é T-Loud aqui? Faz o L. Como é que você chama, amigo?
Sou Leonardo.
Leonardo, quando você não é Loud, você é quem? Envy ou TSM?
Ah, hoje eu tô de TSM.
Que alguém tá de Envy aqui, mano? Você tá de Envy? De Envy, por favor, os caras tão sozinhos aqui, amigo.
Não, tem bastante gente.
Tem?
Eu tô vendo o pessoal aqui.
Tá bom, porque o amigo lá, o chefe da torcida organizada, tá licendo todo mundo aqui. E é isso, tô no meio da bagunça. Kazuki, pode dar licença, por favor, amigo? O cara quer aparecer em tudo, que é o seguinte, semana que vem também teremos bagunça aqui no estúdio. Teremos o LCQ do Game Changers, o MBR tentando mais uma vaga pro Mundial. Alguém vai estar aqui? Alguém conseguiu ingresso? Não sei se alguém conseguiu ingresso. Alguém? Quem? Ninguém. Não sei. Mas semana que vem estaremos aqui fazendo bagunça XRM. Eu acho que assim com o mapa aqui, eu achei que ia ser rápido, mas não vai ser não, amigo.
One hell of a crowd to welcome in the seat that will be filled by VCT team number 48 here at the Grand Finals. TSM on the verge of equalizing the series 1-1 after a strong but not dominant 8-4 half on Sunset. Fans, both these teams continue to fight with their all. Envy having the chance to gain that initiative back.
And Pistol Round's the way to start it. I just want to take a moment as well to appreciate the fans going for TSM. Most of them, if not all, are cheering for TSM when Milo was asking who that fan was cheering for in the crowd. And you already heard it during the walkouts too. A lot of the fans are behind Timotino with whatever he brought to the table. He's been excellent this whole Ascension tournament so far, and he could be the playmaker to help out TSM in this pistol. A much needed one for Envy, as we just mentioned, where TSM seems to have some sort of a read, thinking that this is going to finish towards the B site. They set up a crossfire towards B, and as it stays quiet, now going for the tried and true, the triple flank from the players.
Great body block setup with the decoy by Exter to get some early damage, but TSM, they'll just take the better crowd fight for themselves and deal with Poppin'. So Envy have to low-key flip the map a little bit, and Vora is able to get out of there as well.
Even the shock dart did damage. That's
yeah,
Ion down at 33.
Inspire has been able to meet 7 here in T. Individual 1v1s here as Timo is going to be able to guard the spike against the 2-stack. Does meet 1. Alvin Boy wins his. GMD wins his as well. And Exter's barely able to TP away with this spike, but he's already met by Alvin Boy. A war on 4 fronts, Vans, but it ends with a pistol going TSM's way.
That was such a nice try, man. If he was able to escape with the TP and get that 1v1 against Alvin Boy, dude, he had all the map to take to his favor after the plant on that A site. It was a nice attempt, a nice try, but again, I love this triple push. We were looking at the past ways that TSM has been introducing their pistol rounds on Sunset. It was a lot of the triple flank, but on the A side when they're trying to move in for the reflank towards B and to go for the backstab. A instead of go for the backstab on B. This time they do the opposite. They actually catch the spike off guard solo from popping into the spawn, and they're able to capitalize here on that pistol. TSM looking good and prepared in this second map and looking to close it right now in this anti-eco.
To do so would be so important for, for preventing Envy from being able to get on their feet on a map like this, giving Eggster or Inspire the mobility to be able to go for that operator, or hell, Poppin at this point, because he felt so good on it last map. Shoot.
Yeah.
Letting Kanezera get those overdrives online that seem to just be round shattering. Envy can farm the win cons very quickly on a half like this. TSM need to try to curb stomp here and now. Get to map 3 before Envy can blink. TSM having to just cradle this B aggression, mild as it is.
Difficult to do. Kane's already down at 3 HP. Still able to find some space for the team. They flood towards that back at the side, but the shock dart is going to get even more value.
Spike planted.
There's so much already on the front seats here. And Envy, yeah, they just have to give a lot of themselves away. It's the principle of it for Envy. How many kills they can get away with on the way down. Bob is held up all right. Flank crunched with the paranoia. That's a great play with the cage by Inspire. That's almost plain stupid. And he's got a Spectre. Maybe we'll come away with one more. No. TSM will make it 10.
You know, damn right that after that play, even if TSM wins that round, there's probably going to be Inspire looking up over his mother straight at GMD. These two guys are just good friends playing a lot of ranked games together. The one on this stage, of course, being enemies. We can see how Inspire broke GMD's ankles on that 1v1 around his own cage. And that's going to be at least a little bit to be proud of in the silver lining within this chaos that allows TSM to convert a very clean anti-eco and to put themselves here at double digits against Envy very early on Sunset.
Here.
Right position. How can TSM collapse off of it here onto the bonus? Envy, notoriously good on these rifles. Notoriously good at picking up streaks with them. Already this mid presence. As the door has not been closed, but Alvin Boy has not given himself away to it. Wants to wait for that proximity. Instead, it'll be top mid that's first met. Eggster once again letting the clone fly first and swinging purely off of that. I swear, he's so good at finding that cross-section of time and positioning where it's like, you know that it's time to fight, you know that it's a good time for the order to enter, but it's still that time for the clone. And then it simultaneously will still get that flash that is necessary. Just such good usage of what was, for such a long time, practically trivial utility.
And that's the study from Poppin. Kane was mentioned during the interview. During these moments, Poppin is always in a practice room, VOD reviewing, trying to figure out where he could find gaps and allow Envy to get some good value here in these rounds. The setup that you have from TSM, they set up the trip towards the quad so they could find passive information for a lot of these teams that would like to slam towards that back of the spawn. So as they walk up and they don't hear the trip, they would expect somebody playing on that right side of the staircase, and they do play that trip set up towards that left. So Eggster, as you just mentioned, the reason why he finds so much value off that clone is he hugs so tight into the wall so that as soon as the first step comes through, you think it's going to be a peek. So you shoot the clone and you swing right away from Eggster to be able to get that pick and that win on the top of the defense of that top right side. So that's a nice little gap that's been studied here, not probably only from Inspire, but all from Stunner, the coach. And it allowed here Envy to have a very, very clean round on their gun round.
Yeah, good min-maxing on that bonus to get Envy all the tools they need to carry this half out on their terms. Already toying with top mid, already kind of begging for the door on market to be a little more punishable. Really asking TSM where they are going to end up trying to spread their util, where they're going to try and condition Envy to park themselves, because so far it feels like they've had too much control over things, too much leniency. There's got to be a checkpoint set up somewhere, and Envy want to sniff it out.
It's B main fast. Already breaking the trip. This has to be a full exit. Paranoia is already being vested into it. Alvin Boy has to come up with at least one. Gets
Oh,
zero.
the jump from Eggster. Envy's B-hopping their way through B site. And that rabbit's foot's gonna keep him active and stable in the 5v3 despite the once again shoddy health pool. Kane Zera just giving his bones and muscles to every push. Swear he comes away like a tattered cloth every time it comes down to the post plant. And that'll reign true on the crunches in Boba and Market. Timo with the blast pack just to try to placate against this cage, but it's so hard to do when Envy has all of this space set up. Seven with the barrier gets him a quick visage to make it a 1v1, but Ion quickly nips that in the bud. And it's once again Envy's round.
That was still not bad from TSM. That was a 3 versus 5 on their retake, and they made it a 1 versus 1 in the end. If anything, it's just the power of numbers that allowed Envy to salvage that round towards the end, because that self boost, even though 7 gets value against Inspire towards that front site, there's immediately somebody towards that back of the site to go for the backstab. So again, it's looking like very similar setups in a sense that Envy and TSM are leaving some early gaps here towards that B site, so that a lot of the walk up allows more utility to be expensed on the execution on B. So you're hoping your anchors to come up strong, and they are.
What? Inspire! He's allowed everything now! That's a bit of a crucial whiff from 7, can't lie. Good collapse on top of the neural theft. Bad shots to try to revenge kill after Timotino falls. And the cage placement by Inspire. A microcosm given to Kane and Eggster to light the rest of the playing field up. Say goodbye to your last rifle round in a row, TSM. Envy have the playing field.
And that's Inspire too, not only finding timing, but a confidence as well for the team. Now he feels like he has a good control here of the attack side. Instantly, you just saw from the player cams that that pop-in is being very vocal. I think he's adding into the, look, we're working these rounds very quickly. It's working out in our favor. We are finding every single timing and every single gap. Because remember, a walk up on mid and that pick that they had on the right side 2 rounds ago, then a full B pop within 20 seconds of the round. This time a swing on the A side. It's been very quick for the last 3. So you're forcing TSM's hand to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more stacky on sites right now, which gives a gap on middle for them to retake and to open up now.
Just not allowing a moment to breathe, and that suffocation will continue as Envy try to completely drown out this B site once more. Alvin Boy set up historically close to this on top of the camera, still sticking on the steps, and Envy read it so easily. Kane, as always, that frontliner trying to just do as much damage in the pre-plan as possible, but TSM slightly mobilized with the Sheriffs before all is said and done, and that round is once again wrapped up lickety-split. They want as few questions asked as possible until they tie things up here, Vans.
Agreed. At least some good shots coming out here from Vora, but looks like Envy slowed things down a bit on that previous round, just seeing where TSM would be at. Would they try to go for something aggressive off their eco round to try to really set some sort of a trap play against their opponents? Remember, maybe you don't have like that breach neon meta, but you still have slow orbs and paint shells that could allow for you to crunch into these towel plays into the front A site as well. So Envy was getting prepped up for that, realized that nothing was happening. They get full mid control, and then once again pulled up sites for the side of TSM, smothered by Envy. Now you see the second timeout out for TSM.
Yeah. You simply must. With the raw speed that Envy just kind of tore that entire scaffolding economically down, you do have to find some moment to get into the think tank and find the right moments, the right places to apply the pressure again. Feels like you've got the right ideas. Feels like Timo is applying, like, at the right moments, those angles, like meeting in the early pushes. I think his timing is good. Finding the side stabs from like the market door or even Boba when he's reapproaching on the double stack. His timing's fantastic. His shots just have not been as quick as Envy's. Tough to do that if you're any player in North America, nay, the globe. Reflexes are so good for this attacking squad that are now stacked on the A side. TSM rounded out with another rifle. It's unloading ults time. Hunter's Fury into the dimensional drift, but no combo necessary. Just attack both prongs simultaneously and get your chip damage in before the real fight starts, but it ain't on A main.
So one for a bit on the side of TSM. That was 2 big ults being used and nobody used on the side of TSM. While you get the heal up back on Timotino, you're playing soft side on B. You have some stalls with the trip, but you have your own big ults to retake that site. I was just about to mention this is going to be a big ult round and potentially even a swing round that could close the map for TSM or tie the game for Envy.
Bora with that Hunter's Fury from a distance, and on the meanwhile, Inspire ready. The double swing still catches one on the way down, but 7 is prepped and has the res. So the stack will come from the courtyard. Meanwhile, though, Eggster quick to run to this. He's going to give away the steps and almost wins the fight against Timo. Oh, lock the hell in, buddy. You better for the rest of TSM's sake. Popping the wall bang onto Timo as the neural theft procs. And TSM have to just blunderbuss their way through this site. Poppin runs out of bullets for the final kill. And Ion in the 1v3 post-TP already been found out and gets shredded. TSM stop the bleeding after their last timeout of the game and make it 11-8.
What a good round everywhere from both of these teams. So despite the cancel on that A site, they still have map control and site control over on B. They get the perfect kill onto Timotino, but the res allows Timotino to get the showstopper. He's definitely booking it to try to get the showstopper into the site after the neural theft, and Poppin even gets the wall bang on him to cancel that out. So just so many good individual plays from all 10 players in the server, but it still ended up being TSM at the top with the buddy system that they had on the flood back of these sites. Still keeping 3 players alive in the round, still keeping the showstopper in round number 11, and still looking for a fight on A main.
Everything used by Envy that round. TSM still having the showstopper and from the shadows on the table. That was the round to set TSM's foundation back up here on Sunset, here on their first pick. Does the structure maintain? It's a clash on top mid. Everybody's hungry for it. First fast lane we've seen to enter in a while, and Alvin Boy polices. Now the cross-section set up by TSM on the cage, and the double swing trades through. 2 left for Envy, now 1, as it's just Ion again in the 1v3. The fake TP to try and get the first freebie, but TSM have the stack and 4 rounds of game point.
What a big round by Alvin Boy too. The amount of times that were mentioned that he's playing on site, anchoring up, and he's not be able to hold that side. I think after these timeouts, they are making sure for NBS that TSM are sticking into that buddy system that they want to fight face to face against their opponents. Even if their drone and paranoia got huge value, I think onto Bora, who's falling back towards that spawn. You see the swing out coming out from the back of the Boba site from Alvin Boy, unaffected by the util. Free kills from players TP across as well, and he gets 3 big kills in the round, forcing the last time out for Envy, and also putting TSM at map point after these kills for Alvin Boy.
Backs once again up against the wall. Several win cons in the bag for TSM, several rounds to get over the line with it. But we've seen this story before, haven't we? We got to 13-11 off the backs of it on Abyss. Envy lives to be in positions like this, lives to play from the brink, and has enough tools, has enough resources, has enough raw gumption to be willing to claw their way into these sites again and again and again. Where do you unload that first trigger finger? It seems like the initial threats, those first frag attempts that TSM goes for, Envy seem more a tad bit more prepared for those fights. If they're able to punish a potential trap setup on the beginnings of A main, the doldrums of mid, the steps of top, these crunches that we consistently see them go for, they can get ISO just once. That's all the Fulcrum Envy needs to carry their half.
And remember, the showstopper carries on again. Not having to use it, not able to use it 2 rounds ago, and not need it last round. This could be the backbreaker that allows TSM to close out that map. And once again, all 3 working towards middle. We're adding a little bit of aggression towards middle, but this could also be a fake. Kane Zero is now moving up there alone. He might fast lane, find the timing. He gets it potentially out to 7, but now he has to retreat. That pulls the players, the defensive back towards the spawn though, and allows Envy to move forward against Thinking Mustache. Or Thinking something, Sideshow Man, something like that. What is it, chat in Sideshow's watch party?
Well, we've got at least one more round, as Envy has been able to, pull this site like saltwater taffy. Instantly able to just negotiate that lean after the early mid presence. I mean, Kane making such a bloody amount of noise that TSM is already so like bottlenosed onto those mid stairs. The rotation of B is going to be clunky no matter what, and they assess that it's better to go for the spray through the hallway first rather than try to meet them on the back site and split the diff on the retake. And Envy, I mean, that's a fight. That's getting started. They'll gladly take that.
This is a good call, though, but that was a trump card off the timeouts by Stunner. Now, potentially, TSM might not react the same way if Envy is going to show the same hand. But again, I'm going to have to talk about that showstopper, and this time they're actually putting just Timotino alone with the op and showstopper if they are trying to just have Kane Zero walk up. Training that out against Kane is going to be a huge start for them, but the bigger start is GMD winning that 1v1 against Inspire, nullifying even a neural theft into the round.
You respect the lurk play from Inspire, daring to walk down that slow orb and go for such an early poke, but that just means the bear is all the more pissed on the other side. TSM have the stack and the op into free zones. Eggster gives himself away. 3v5 for Envy's margin. Poppin blows through. Kane's-Zera exit from the smoke. It's a complete bluster on Boba. Kane's-Zera comes up with it all. And Envy flipped the round on its head in an instant. GMD, so much to course back through, and Kane has the operator now.
Kane
for
with
him.
the slider, man. Kane with the slider into the spawn, slides into the home plate, and drops even the showstopper prepped up by Timotino. They were never ready for that. As all of these rounds have been the chaos of Envy into these sites, into these post plants. Rare that we see Envy play to that style to disrespect the spawn. Spiro plays on the spawn and running through that smoke, that flick on Timotino. TSM's now on an eco with no showstopper anymore, and the ults are cycled back on the side of Envy.
Gotta get to 120 kills somehow. Let's just keep this party going. As Kane, yet again, first to act, first to activate. Back on this rifle. And is hungry. TSM fully playing for 12-11 by the looks of it. Gonna try and get away with some easy stuff, but Kane laughing in their face. You dare come at me with something like this? Thinking you can hold a candle. Envy will go to 24 as TSM did in the previous round, no doubt. These Sheriffs continuing to do some decent damage, but it's already too far gone. Envy is set up for the 12-12.
No timeouts remaining here for TSM. It almost feels like now that the timeout being called by Stunner a couple of rounds back was not only on the call, but just to remind Kane-Zera that he's better than everybody else. And he just showed that in the last two rounds. From a beautiful triple kill to just space making on individual plays, sacrificing his life for map control and also giving time for his teammates to set up has been the name of the game for Kane-Zera since this timeout. Overdrive now available. Sage Res at least available for TSM to stay within the fight. If Kane-Zera is able to get up that early spot and get a trade-off, they could still play at a man advantage. But it all boils down to this single round. Ults aplenty on the side of Envy to work with over on this A-side pop.
So much to dig the elbow into.
Gotta go.
Nowhere to run.
That passage in itself is opened up. Popping with the early Hunter's Fury just to clear the board and gets a double tap onto the Link with it. But Seven understanding that that could be the go button, goes for the spray down, gets that early pick onto Eggster. Envy, seeing that as the moment they have to make their way into sight, and Kane-Zera begging to snake up to Link, begging to get that extra space, but the recon dart is going to guarantee that position. Begs forward the overdrive, and Kane-Zera only good for one that time. The crowd meets him, and Seven's res available to make this a 5v3. Do they have enough? That shock dart does so much damage, and Ion and Poppin spray into the fray. Alvin Boy, back from the back hole. Could be the linchpin to restabilize for TSM. Vora finds the bullet, tracing on Ion, spray through the smoke. And it's a 2v1 that Inspire has to save post-ultimate. But he finds Vora dancing through the smoke. Alvin Boy's held the spike to half. The ulti on top. Inspire met by Alvin Boy. And it's 13-11 the other way on TSM's own pick. We're tied up at 1.